I'm wondering if maybe we could talk about one of these crazy, unexpected, contingent events of recent weeks, like the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and maybe or something else, and how it fits into this, like a contingent event nobody was expecting, but then how it post hoc creates its own necessity.
It was, yes, a contingent event, but now I will maybe shock you. I don't think that Charlie Kirk could or should be simply dismissed as a neo-fascist, Western racist, and so on. First, I must say, I listened to many of his clips of his conversations. He was doing something that, let's be frank, it will sound horrible what I will say, but he was doing something that even not even, but also the politically correct, whatever we call it, left is not ready to do. He, first, and it will sound superficial, but it's important, I think. He exposed himself. Precisely what people perceived as his dogmaticism. I liked it, in what sense? It wasn't really dogmaticism. It was that he was not afraid to clearly state his position. He said, I am this Christian. I believe in basic premises of the Bible. I think this is the greatest achievement of humanity ideologically, and so on and so on. And second thing, I noticed that, did you notice this, that usually people interrupted him. He was very careful here. He always, and we can say this is only apparently, but okay, appearances matter. He said, okay, this is my argument. What is your argument? And when many progressives counter attacked, they usually started to shout and so on and so on. But I think, although of course I don't agree, I'm not crazy, to avoid misunderstanding, with his basic orientation, but I think that his mode of dialogue, there was something refreshing in it, which is why although I don't want to go into conspiracy theories, I think that the radical right had maybe even a greater interest than the radical left to get rid of him. Because, but you know who said this? I quote him, maybe you know the text. Trump himself at the speech, at the memorial speech for Charlie Kirk, he said Charlie Kirk respected his enemies and wished the best for them, wished good. And he said, I don't agree with him here. I hate my enemies. I want them destroyed, and so on and so on. Now, it's clear how Charlie Kirk is here manipulated, not to mention another fact. You know that often with him, and I think he was coming more and more close to this, although it was still Trumpian left in the very suspicious sense of Steve Bannon and so on. But, it was more and more clear that he moved from the standard right-wing populist idea that our enemies are some bad guys. If we arrest them, introduce, militarize our societies, and so on, that in that case, then we will win. But if you read Charlie Kirk, listen to his improvisations carefully, you can see how gradually he was moving. Now, I will say something shocking for my leftist friends, to an almost socialist perspective. By socialist, I mean it was more and more clear to him that the basic problem are not immigrants or whatever, LGBT, blah, blah. The basic problem is in the corporate capitalist system. You know where you find this? You know who is another guy whom I am, now it will shock you again, whom I'm discovering now, not even to mention Steve Bannon, who said in a recent speech that it's not just California governor and so on and so on. Then he makes a list. We should nationalize, disband Walmart, big corporations, and so on and so on. They were clearly moving in this direction, that the problem are not immigrants, blah, blah, blah. The problem is the system itself.